Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film Room Podcast. This is, weird to say, Season 2, Episode 2 of the Film Room Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Baress, along with my co-host, Joby Fawcett. Joby, it's Tuesday evening now. How we doing?
I'm doing okay, Joe. I just poured myself a piping hot cup of coffee.
Good.
Did some yard work late this afternoon because, as you know, there's going to be some inclement weather coming tomorrow. So we maintained what little bit of landscaping I have left from the dry August we've had. And Joe, I actually did some football work today.
How about that?
Did some football, preparing for week 1 of the high school football season. And I even dipped my toe in the water of doing a little bit of girls volleyball research. So we're getting into the fall sports season.
Yeah, we're moving straight ahead here. Absolutely. And speaking of the fall season, the first sport that got underway is pretty much in full force right now is high school golf. And we are joined by Ben Boyanoski of Scranton Prep Golf. Ben, how we doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. What Ben did to get our coveted Athlete of the Week award. For the second consecutive year, Boyanoski won the individual title at the Bob Simons Classic. The Scranton Prep senior shot 2 under over his final 6 holes to overcome a 4-shot deficit and rally for the victory with an even par 72 at Elk View Country Club. He also helped the Cavaliers take the team title and start 4-0 in Lackawanna League play. Could update that. I believe we're up to more than that. You guys won two matches today, but Ben kicks off our 76th Athlete of the Week program. I want to start there, Ben, just to let people and you behind the curtain a little bit. We started this podcast the week that you got the Athlete of the Week last year. And I always felt bad that we never had you on the podcast. So you went out and got Athlete of the Week again to sort of rectify the situation. So I'm so exactly. So thank you for, winning this tournament again so that we could have you on rightfully. Let's start there, Ben. Obviously, at this point it was a week ago, but it's obviously always a great tournament to kind of serve as the kickoff to the year. Talk about how you were able to kind of focus in and overcome that 4-shot deficit, putting together a great string of holes to end it. How were you able to come back and win that tournament?
Yeah, overall, starting my day, I felt pretty good about my game. I wasn't really rolling putts in like I would have liked, but I wasn't making many errors. I had a chip on hole 4 from the back of the green, which if you ever played Elkview is nearly impossible, and I almost holed it, and that kind of really got my round going in a very positive momentum, knowing that if I could do that, I could do anything there.
Yep.
I kept my eyes on the leaderboard pretty much all day. I kind of was just looking at, and obviously I didn't start the best. I was 2 over through 7. And at that point, I think I was 5 back. And I just kind of said, anything could happen on this course, especially with 4, 5, and 6. They're all really tough holes and really any score is possible there from birdie to even a 10. Going on though, a few holes, like hole 8, I almost holed the chip again, but made birdie there. And that kind of it steadied the ship after a rough first 7 holes. And going on to the back, I missed a few birdie looks on 10 and 11. I 3-putted 12, but bounced back on 14 with a birdie. And at that point, I was looking at the leaderboard and I was, I think, 5 back. And I was kind of just like, all right, let's try and finish these last 4 holes as strongly as possible and see what happens at the end of it. Because I could control only my game and my game only.
Right.
And, I got to hole 17 standing at 1 over, still 5 back, not much change in the leaderboard. And that hole's been my nemesis every single year. I think I went 1 for 4 in hitting fairways on that hole.
Oh, wow.
And it just so happened that this year was the one I hit. and it took the slope. And because the course was so dry, I only had a pitching wedge into that par 5.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I hit it to about 30 feet and 2-putted for birdie. And at that moment, I still thought, all right, we're 4 back with 1 to play. All we could do is birdie. And I took a look at the leaderboard and saw that the leader made a triple.
Oh, nice.
So that cut my deficit from 4, which I thought, to 1. So going into my last hole, I was like, all right, birdie at best, par at worst. No reason to force a hole out. No reason to make a dumb error and make a bogey. If we could get in at even to 1 under, I know I'll have a chance. And I didn't hit the best drive, but my second shot got unlucky. I hit a 8-iron from about 165, and it landed on the front of the green, but plugged in the fringe, which I was surprised with because it was so hard and dry that I almost felt like I just felt that was the perfect shot, and I executed perfectly, so I couldn't be mad at it because it just got unlucky.
Yeah.
It's usually pretty saturated over there, and I just didn't account for that. But I ended up hitting the first putt and hit a bump and left it about 6 feet short, 7 feet short. And I ended up rolling that in for par. And at the moment, I was like, all right, we're still 1 back, and he has 2 holes to play. Anything's possible. So I kind of went over and sat down, had a quick bite to eat just in case I had to go into a playoff just to refuel. And my one teammate said that I was tied for the lead because he had bogeyed his 17th hole.
Okay. Yeah.
So I kind of just hung out there, just stayed cool, didn't really think too much, kind of just, what happens, happens. I can't control it. And it ended up that I didn't have to even play enough playoff, and I was the champion.
Ben, I've got to tell you, I'm fascinated listening to you recall all of the analysis that you did and execution of the shots and your approaches and your chips and your putting and everything. For our listeners out there, you clearly have spent a lot of time and you're really dedicated and committed to the sport of golf. But how did you get started to be so, I guess I want to use the word obsessed, but maybe you're not obsessed, but you certainly are committed to it. So how did you get involved? What attracted you to the sport of golf?
When I was around 2 to 4 years old, somewhere within there, I was with my dad and I just picked up his club and started swinging it. And they ended up buying me like the little tiny set. And I kind of would go out on the weekends, play like a short course at Pine Hills with my dad. And that kind of grew the love. It would be me and him just going out for like a quick 3 to 6 holes, just, on a Saturday evening or something. And from there, it kind of was just like, I want to get better at this sport because I would just have an obsession with because at that age, I wouldn't hit it good. But when I did catch that good one, it just felt really good to me. And that kind of just started it. And I just always was chasing that, that feeling of, wow, that's awesome. That was just a really well executed shot.
Absolutely. Golf is that sport that, at least for me, it's super frustrating, but then you hit that one shot that keeps you coming back, and so I'm kind of curious of, obviously, you're clearly extremely level-headed when it comes to the sport, as you kind of took us through. You're looking at the scoreboard, you're down five shots. How do you stay mentally focused and kind of not lose yourself on certain shots? Either you hit a bad shot, or like you said, you think you hit a good shot and it just doesn't end up where you think it's going to go. How do you kind of stay focused during a match?
Yeah, I'll be honest, freshman and sophomore year, I struggled with that. I would get mad at myself for hitting the shot I want if it just got a bad break. And I kind of learned from those, and I realized that when I'd get mad at myself there, it wouldn't just affect me on that hole, but it would stay with me for the next 2 to 3. And those are the parts of the round that could kill you. A 4-hole stretch that you're still thinking about that one shot that just got unlucky, and it just could cause you to take yourself out of the tournament. So the past 2 years, I feel like I've gotten better with that. And I've even had to overcome where I've had a 2-shot lead going into the second day of a tournament, and I would 4-putt my first hole, and that would bring everyone back into contention when I had a big lead. But learning from that was, it's one hole. It's an 18-hole marathon, not just a 1-hole race. And I feel like you can't let one hole dictate your entire round. You kind of just have to play your game, and you just have to commit to your shots. If I'm going to say, all right, I have a 168 to the pin, let's make a 165 shot. If I execute that to what I like, and let's say it's just the wrong shot for that type of hole, I can't get mad at myself for doing what I want.
Ben, so to become a golfer at your level now as a senior, what kind of workout regimen did you put yourself through in terms of swing training, learning to read distances, learning to read fairways, learning to read greens? I mean, there's got to be an awful lot of time and effort that you've put into your craft of becoming such an outstanding golfer.
Yeah. So in the fall, spring, and summer, I don't get to go to the gym nearly as often as I would like, just because with the golf swing, if you're sore, it could really throw you off. So I kind of have to do minimal stuff for that. But in the winter, that's when I could really go to the gym hard. And I like to meet with my swing coach at least once a month just to tweak some things because I'm not getting the reps I would like. And my coach, Ryan Dimmick, he's one of the teaching pros at Glenmara. He has a TrackMan, and it allows you to hit into the screen and give you the numbers. So kind of all winter, I would be able to work with that just to get like 8-iron stock distance. And then it's like, all right, if I choke up to here and swing 3/4, that's how far it goes. And then I would just take that and adjust it once I get outside.
Well, that makes sense. That's, yes. It's funny that you said, going back to your last answer too. I just wanted to say that when I'm on and trust me, I am a terrible golfer, Ben. I'm bad, but, it's fun. It's fun. But, you were mentioning, how if you hit the shot you want and it just doesn't go the way, just, take the positive out of it. When I smoke a ball 200 yards into the woods, I'm always like, well, you know what? It was really well struck. So,
Yeah.
so I get what you're saying there, but when it comes to your team, obviously this is a team coming off a state title. Just to show, today you guys all shot the top 4 shot in the 30s today. I mean, this is a really, really interesting team moving forward here as you try to repeat as state champs. What is it like playing with this team at Scranton Prep?
It's very competitive between players. We have a very deep team of around 8 to 9 guys that could all compete for a starting spot.
Yeah.
And right now, that's not really an issue because, we can mix in kids, different matches. But once we get to districts and regionals, that's when it starts getting knocked down to, I believe it's play 5, count 4 instead of what we play now, which is play 6, count 4. So everyone's kind of playing for the team, but almost against each other, trying to prove, hey, I should be in the top 5 that should play at districts. I'm in the top 5 that should play at regionals. And then I should also be the top 5 that play in states. It's kind of like inner competitions. Like, yeah, we won, but like you almost have to play for yourself and the team.
Right.
Because you don't know at the end of the season, like there's no solidified spots for states right now. And I feel like everyone just has to keep working for to prove their worth and why they should play at states.
Okay, Ben, so listen, it's early in the season. You're coming off of what has been a pretty dry month of August, which certainly helps the golf games. So as you and your teammates and the season shifts gears a little bit here, you do deal with, if I can remember correctly, last year during the postseason, you're always dealing with some real tricky weather. How have you adapted to that and kind of gotten your game to be able to really be outstanding no matter what the conditions are that you may face, certainly later on in the season?
Yeah, it's tough because we go from 85 and sunny in August to then we get to September and it could be 55 and windy. And those are 2 completely different days. The ball will definitely go shorter. The wind will make you have to hit shots a little bit lower, a little bit runnier. And the ground gets a lot more saturated because we get more rainfall as the fall progresses. And it kind of, like, if you're going to play around and you don't really know what to expect out of it, it's almost try and play the first 5 holes as like smooth as possible and kind of try and adjust your game to where you need it. So it's trying to figure out what the weather is giving you that day and then using that for the rest of the round. Instead of just going at it and taking guesses for 18 holes, it's try and narrow it down in 3. And then you have 15 holes to get back whatever you lost in those first 3 or to keep doing what you did in those first 3.
Absolutely. So I'm just curious, Ben, maybe this might be a dumb question or a loaded question, but, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone starting off in golf? I have a bunch of friends who have, who are like just starting golf or anyone trying to pick it up. What advice would you give a golfer kind of starting off in the sport?
Yeah, golf is a tough sport. You got to really be patient with your game and just put in some time and effort just to practice it. And it'll all work out. Everyone goes through highs and lows, no matter what level you're at. Even if you look at the professional, you could see a guy go win 3 events one year and then the next year not even compete in any. You kind of just have to work through those lows and enjoy the highs.
Ben Boyanoski is our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week. Joe, you mentioned most coveted Athlete of the Week award out there. 76 seasons.
76, huh?
Strong. Now, Ben, I'm going to drop the gauntlet here, okay? Joe has kind of mentioned he's a seasonal or a terrible golfer, which is probably a more accurate description.
Correct.
I would like to know, Ben, let's put some odds out there. What kind of chance would you give someone like me at the local putt-putt facility?
No,
listen, I have been known to sink one in the clown's nose. So,
I will say putt-putt and real golf is 2 completely different sports. You could ask my brother. He's beaten me many times. If we went onto a real golf course, I don't think he has a chance. So I'm going to say you got a pretty good chance at it.
All right. Well, we'll have to try to see if we'll have your people call my people and we'll try to set something up. Okay.
Sounds good.
I love it. A little, Ben, just a little fun one here for you as well. So looking at your Athlete of the Week interview, a few of the teams that you like, it kind of fits. Obviously, there's a lot of Notre Dame fans around here. There's a lot of Phillies fans and everything. I'm just curious, how did you become a Bengals fan?
Yeah, so it's a very, very funny story, actually. I used to collect minifigures of every NFL team.
Yeah.
And the one day I started off as a Steelers fan because that's what my dad likes. But the one day I was looking at them all, and my favorite color is orange. It's been that my entire life. And I was just looking, and I read their name, and it said Bengals, Bengals.
Oh.
That's my name. Their colors are orange. And I was like, I think I'm going to like this team. And that's kind of how it started. I was there when they went 2-15, and I was there when they played in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That is a great story.
I love that. Hey, I mean, if they could get their defense together, they could get back to that Super Bowl. But
well, no, wait a minute, Joe. Let's be fair.
Okay.
Ben, now I know you've been busy and you're focused on your golf. You're a big Bengals fan, but you may or may not be familiar with the team that won that Super Bowl over the Bengals a couple of years ago, the Los Angeles Rams, which that team happens to be my favorite team. So while I am certain, I thought your story was very, very entertaining. I do take great joy in the fact the Rams were able to hold on to an Aaron Donald sack for the victory of that game.
Yeah, no, I was a little sad after that one. I'm going to be honest. That was a tough loss.
It's a tough loss. And Ben, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. Being a football, fan of myself, the Bengals have had a little bit of hard luck in the Super Bowls of the past. Now, you're much too young to remember the first 2 defeats against the 49ers, but losing to the Rams, that was a heartbreak for sure.
Yeah, Matt Stafford went off that game. I can't even. There was a few things, and Eli Apple wasn't the best cornerback that day.
No, did you happen to see Joe Burrow running for his life last night in a scrimmage game?
Nope, but I saw them win.
There you go.
They did win, Ben.
It's
Touche.
true. Exactly.
Touche.
Joby, stop rubbing it into Ben. He's never going to come back on the show.
Oh, he's going to come back. We have to have that putt-putt challenge.
That's right. That's right. So, hey, Ben, this was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day after a golf match today to join us. We really appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the season.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Ben, thank you very much. And I do actually wish the best to the Bengals because I am a big Joe Burrow fan. So I hope that the Bengals give you great joy during the course of this year. But more importantly, I hope you and your Scranton Prep teammates continue to have an absolutely great season in golf, and best of luck to you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Ben. All right. That was Ben Boyanoski of Scranton Prep Golf, our first athlete of the week of the year for the second straight year. Joe,
back-to-back honors for Ben to start so he will be the lead in the season-ending video for 2 straight years.
2 straight years, exactly.
He'll be leading it off.
And Joby, it's, sometimes it's really funny how things work out. We had been trying to, figure out a good platform to put this podcast on, and then we just kind of hopped in it with the high school football preview last year. But we didn't really set up the format until the second week of the Athlete of the Week. So we never talked to Ben. And I always felt bad about that. And I just think it's so funny because obviously you're aware I was on vacation last week, and I saw the alert come in, Boyanoski wins Bob Simon's Classic. I'm just like, oh man, he might be the Athlete of the Week. This is perfect. So it's just funny how things work out sometimes.
Joe, just based on this interview that we just had, it's a shame we weren't able to have him as the first guest because he is about as comprehensive an interviewee that we've had on this show. We've had some really entertaining guests. But how about how he breaks down every shot that he took strategically? Of course, he's a golfer, so he's going to do that. He's in competition. I don't know why I find it so surprising, but he really is a well-spoken young man, and clearly he's one of the best golfers. And he's really going to etch his name here and carve quite a legacy if he's able to continue to have the kind of success he's had individually and fueling another Scranton Prep run to a state title. Boy, that's going to look really good in his resume. It's going to be quite a career he's put together at Scranton Prep.
Absolutely, Joby. And like you're aware, that entire prep golf team is back. They return their starting lineup. So
that inner competition is what really drives the golf program, not just at Scranton Prep, but of course it's a lot of the more traditional power schools and programs that we have in the area. Abington Heights traditionally is right there nipping at Scranton Prep's heels. Now, Scranton Prep has already won that head-to-head matchup, I believe, in the league season, but it was very entertaining. And, a lot of these kids, I don't know if you saw, we had another early matchup of the smaller schools. Riverside beat Lakeland head-to-head, and both of those teams have very deep rosters of talented golfers. Now, Lakeland, of course, will lose Chase Rosenkrantz here once the football season gets into high gear and he's not able to skip out on practice to play around. So, listen, these golfers, they put in their time, Joe. They're not like you out there playing and chopping up the fairways and, throwing clubs into the woods. These kids are really into it, and they have a great talent for it. They spend time with swing coaches, as Ben said. And, I think it's going to be real entertaining as we move forward here in the fall to see just how well Scranton Prep and Abington Heights and others both all do on the district and state level.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to mention it. I think it goes without saying, but Ben is much smarter than the both of us. And proved that by taking us through pretty much the back nine comprehensively, as you mentioned. But Joby, I'm glad you brought up Chase Rosenkrantz. It's he's a heck of a golfer, Joby. I mean, based on, the stats coming in, he had 5 birdies today, shot a 30 at Scott Green's. I mean, that's fantastic.
Joe, I mentioned earlier that I was cutting the grass.
Oh, yeah.
Occasionally I have to dodge some golf balls that come firing through the tree line.
Yep.
I know I'm giving too much away here on the podcast, but I mean, many people already know this fact. But Chase Rosenkrantz was probably not one of the players who was launching tee shots into my yard.
That's true.
He is a terrific golfer. It's a shame he gets kind of sidetracked a little bit once the football season really gets going here this week. He does have to try to balance golf with football practice, and that does wear on him once school starts. And now golf, he can go in the morning and golf, get a round in, then he can go to practice because Lakeland does a lot of their practicing in the afternoon and the early evening. So, but once school starts, that becomes quite a conflict for him, and then it does have an impact on his game. But he's had a heck of a summer, and a 30 on Scott Green's. I think when I used to be a golfer, Joe, I used to walk down the tree line here, hole number 3. I think I could shoot 30 on the first 2 or 3 holes.
Same, Joby. It was really funny when Ben mentioned, he was just like, yeah, you can get a 4 or a 10. I'm just like, yeah, I'm the 10.
I'm 10 of the ball.
Exactly.
When he says you can get a 4, that's how many balls I generally lose in the tree line.
That's accurate. So, Joby, one other performance that I want to just touch on quickly, Lyla Jones out of North Pocono. She shot an 80 to capture her second straight Anne-Marie Simons Classic title. So it was a repeat sweep for these golf tournaments. It was at Honesdale Golf Club. She beat out Abington Heights' Brianna Moffitt, who shot an 83, but Moffitt did lead the Lady Comets to the team title as the Lady Comets shot a 269, and Honesdale's Julie Saylor shot an 84 to finish third. Congratulations to Lyla, but also I appreciate Lyla giving me a quick interview and shooting me a photo from the event on Monday that I could use so we could get that in our early print deadlines for the next day. So congratulations to Lyla and thank you. We always appreciate the quick responses for sure.
Joe, and if I could, in congratulating Lyla, I do want to mention that great job on getting that information out to everybody in a very quick manner yesterday. But that is also one of the more popular Facebook posts for my Facebook page.
Oh, fantastic.
The Times-Tribune. Lyla's got quite a fan base out there, and she certainly has earned it. Yep. And congratulations to her on another fantastic tournament champion.
That's awesome. So, Joby, we've reached the point in the show. Well, you know what? Is there anything else you want to touch on before we get to high school football week 1?
Joe, I do.
Tell me.
Okay, so yesterday was the opening of the girls' high school tennis season in the Lackawanna League.
Yep.
Okay. And I want to thank the coaches of the girls' Lackawanna Tennis League because they were so cooperative in the summer. Again, we're working on some very tight deadlines, and I spent, as Joe knows, the better part of 2 weeks on the road, and I was working from the road and oftentimes trying to do things very quickly in a manner of which I had to turn things around fast. I had to post video. Well, first of all, produce videos, then post videos, post pictures, yep. And write stories for the print product and whatnot. And to all of the coaches' credits, they got me the preseason questionnaires that I send out via email every summer in such a timely fashion, Joe, that I was able to take a deep breath one day last week, and I was able to reach out and talk to a couple of the key players who were returning for this year in the Lackawanna League. I even, Joe, had an opportunity to sneak out to Scranton Prep's first day of tennis practice, shot some video, And we put together a nice preview for Sunday. It all came together great. We weren't missing anything. And the real great part of it was there was no panic on my part where I had to really pressure anybody to get me the information. It was all there. So I really want to thank all the coaches for their great cooperation on that. That being said, again, yesterday was opening day, and I had all of the results all done very, very completely. There were no questions on my part. Got all the information in. And again, I can't thank them enough because that's the procedure that we have to do moving forward. And having all that information, there were some great matches yesterday. Montrose off to the quick 2-0 start. I do expect this team to be a contender within the Lackawanna League. Do the Lady Meteors have enough to knock off Scranton Prep? I don't know. But what I do know is that the top two players in the Lackawanna League will be going head-to-head tomorrow, weather permitting, Joe. Mm-hmm. From what I've seen, meteorologists around, there's a hurricane off the shore in the Atlantic.
There sure is.
And we're getting some of that kickback here in Northeast Pennsylvania on Wednesday. So the rains may come and postpone that matchup, but it is certainly going to be one of the more anticipated singles matchups of the year when Lily Lengel takes on Kara Evans at number one singles. So I'm looking forward to that, and that'll be a good key head-to-head battle between two of the top Class 2A teams in District 2 as well. So great start for the Lackawanna League girls tennis, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all these athletes out there playing on the courts here in Northeast Pennsylvania.
Absolutely, Joby. Absolutely. So Joby, I know you're hard at work doing your preparations for the Game Face Edition Week 1. So we're
up to doing that already?
How about that?
I thought you were going to do your best to cancel that project.
I tried very hard, Joby.
Wasn't one of your preseason prospective goals to limit some of the work I had to do during the course of the season?
Joby, I guess that didn't go as planned. Sorry.
Clearly not for me.
Yeah, no. Joby, I was too busy going to another concert.
Joe, I saw.
Oh, God.
I'm surprised you can hear everything on a podcast recording because I know you like to not only attend these concerts, but you're yelling and screaming like a crazy man as well.
That's true. That is so true. I lost my voice about halfway through the last one. I saw Lincoln Park in Philadelphia. It was a great time. But yeah, I hope to be able to continue to hear as there's the Motionless in White is coming to the arena in November, Joby, for the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Apocalypse Festival. Should I count you in? Should I get you a ticket? That's a Thursday.
Joe, I'll tell you what, I can't believe how excited I am about that.
I figured. I know what a metal fan you are, so that's I'm very excited for you. I'll just count you in.
So put me down as a possibility.
That sounds good. So Joby, I don't know what you want to talk about. If you want to tease anything that's coming in Game Face, that'll be in every Friday. We'll have a Game Face wrap around the sports section as we have the last few years. So
Joe, I think we're up to, I don't quote me on the number, but I want to say we're getting close to year 12 of Game Face.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Let's refresh our audience, Joe, in case we got any new members.
Sure.
And people who follow us on Podbean here. So Game Face is going to have a feature story every week. We're going to have game capsules, full Lackawanna Football Conference coverage. Every team will have a little bit of a preview for their games. We'll have the game of the week. And of course, again, thanking the coaches in the Lackawanna Football Conference for their cooperation. We'll have players to watch as well. And there's going to be some other neat things that I'm going to try to incorporate this year in the Game Face presentation as I try to evolve. Joe, it's hard to believe at 55 years old, I've got to learn all these social media.
Absolutely.
things that they're trying to appeal to the young audience. But all that being said, the feature this week, Joe, each week I do try to get out and meet the people who I profile, and we chat. And I like to present it this way, is that I try to get some background, and then we just kind of have a conversation. And then, throughout the course of us hanging out for a little while, I'll do an interview. We take some photos, and we get, the information we need. But the idea behind that story is I try to give readers a little bit of insight into what it's like to be a high school football player off the field. Okay, so often we read the numbers, and look, I'm a guy who's enthralled by the final scores and the statistics and the history. You saw how popular the social media post on Facebook that I had with all the history and all the all-time leaders lists and everything. All that's great. But these are the kind of stories I like to dive into every week. And do I do it? Am I able to achieve it every week? Probably not. But I will tell you this, Joe, in a quick preview. The one this week is going to be quite emotional for those who do read it. I'm not going to give it totally away, but because I am going to try to get a video component together. I'm working on that once you're done interrupting me here with this podcast. And if I can successfully complete the video component, I'm going to try to get it out there as quick as possible, because I really want to give this story some promotion. So just to kind of tease it a little bit there, it's a really good one. I just hope I gave it justice with my writing. I did a second right through this afternoon, and we'll see how that works out. I'll go through it one more time tomorrow before I file. And again, we're gonna have a preview of the game of the week. We can anticipate it, but we know what it's going to be, Joe. It's Scranton Prep at Valley View for a couple of reasons. One, it's a great rivalry. Two, it's the only Lackawanna Football Conference League game on opening week. So that's whether there may be some more intriguing matchups this year on paper, because we really don't know much about any of these teams. Nobody's played a game yet.
Right.
This is really the only one that counts.
Right.
in terms, it counts towards a division championship. So, and I'm interested in this game too, Joe. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But yeah, it's exciting to get to week one. But Joe, much like the high school football players, they go through camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went through HEDAC week, going to 2 practices a day, and then the following week, which was the players were going through 2 practices a day, so I was going through 2 practices a day.
Yeah.
And in our profession, we kind of, if you're watching NFL exhibition games or whatnot, or even in the high school scrimmages, a lot of the starters don't play a lot. You kind of try to rest up the legs a little bit until you get into your normal routine. Well, we don't get a chance to rest. We're right into this. So
Right.
I had a lot of the pre-work for week one done over the weekend. I worked Saturday and Sunday on that. So we're a little bit ahead of the game, Joe. That won't be the case as the year proceeds. It'll be a 7-day a week probably that I'll be working on. But we like to put it out there. High school football is still very popular in our area. So let's keep putting it together every Friday.
Absolutely, Joby. So what's coming up this week? Joby, I got my wish. I'm going to be at the Riverside Dunmore game. I think that'll be a fun one. I'm glad that you mentioned though that we don't fully know what to expect from these teams. There've been obviously a lot of turnover, a lot of really key graduations to a bunch of teams, new coaches, all that stuff. So I can't wait for our grid picks till I hope I at least have a winning record, Joby. I don't know.
Well, Joe, but just kind of following up on that, though, I hope everyone got a chance to read the preseason game case edition, because you're right. There is a lot of things that we just don't know about any of these football teams. And for someone like myself, who I've been covering the sport for so long now, I tend to forget that I have been doing this since writing and covering high school sports since 1993. Okay, Joe?
Right.
And so it's a very long time. And I have seen a generational change in the sport. over the course of that time. And the Game Face preseason insert that was in the Sunday Times, if you weren't able to purchase the hard copy, you can certainly go back into the Times-Tribune.com e-edition archives and get a look at it that way. The links for all of the stories are on my Facebook page, Joby Fawcett, the Times-Tribune. And in that section, you kind of get an idea of what everybody has coming back.
Yep.
Okay. But I've often thought, and even when I was coaching high school football, what you have coming back always doesn't give a clear picture of the potential your team has for success.
Right.
Because really what you have to talk about, or at least reference with high school teams, is what you have lost.
Right.
Okay. Through graduation. Now, that doesn't mean that what you have coming back isn't the biggest component for this year, but it is certainly one of the things that, kind of indicates where we're at before we see anybody play. Now, what we do know, Joe, after week one is a little bit of, with some of these head-to-head matchups, I know you're extremely happy about getting the Riverside at Dunmore game. Both of those teams I landed in our preseason top 10 poll, which comes as no surprise. They have been there the last couple of years. So you're going to see a lot of marquee names on the field in that game, Joe. You're going to see Tavion Branch from Riverside, who is headed to Rutgers. You're going to see Braden Rose, who's probably the most complete three-sport athlete we have in Northeast Pennsylvania and District 2, for Riverside. He's going to be moving to quarterback. And the kind of magic Harry Armstrong has come up with in developing quarterbacks in his system. So that could be a really exciting matchup there. And with Dunmore, we talked a little bit about, the players that Dunmore has coming back. Xavier Burke, a very physical fullback, linebacker player. There's some linemen who gained some really good, valuable experience last year, albeit through some growing pains, which often happens when you're a young, inexperienced group. But Dunmore got Weston Yanoni from Susquehanna, a transfer athlete who was an all-region player last year. And if you went back and looked, Joe, and I know you've done the research, Weston Yanoni had 2 terrific football games against Dunmore.
Yeah.
So they're very familiar with his work. And listen, he's attended some prospects camps and done really well with his numbers. His intangibles are his instincts out there on the field. They're excellent, as well as a quarterback, and really the quarterback and the defense back there at safety. So I think you're going to get a good one there, Joe. I hope it lives up to the expectations.
Absolutely. I'm very, very excited for that. And it's funny too, Joe, because you mentioned the rust, and it's funny. The first game of the season, when you're trying to keep stats and take video, it's weird. You're a little slower. You're a little slower because you haven't done it in, however many months it's been since the last football game. So I'll do my best to keep up with, Harry Armstrong's quick offense there at Riverside.
Nothing like diving into the cauldron the first week.
Exactly. There's no doubt I'll be ready. I'll be ready by week 2. I'll get a good, good dose of quick play here in this game. So,
Joe, if the dream game was any indication, I will report that I only dropped my iPhone 3 times, and I only had 2 plays where I had to ask who had the ball.
Oh, wow.
So that's actually a good dry run for me.
I was going to say, that's not
be 100. I should be at somewhere around 98% for Friday night. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, Joby, and what other games would you highlight from this week? Not to say, they're all important in their own way.
Well, they are important, Joe, for everybody, because everybody starts 0-0.
That's right. That's right.
And the first week, now that the playoffs are much different, but I can remember back in the Stone Age in 1987 when I played, your season could be lost in week 1.
Right.
You could not afford in 1987 2 losses. You would not you would have a hard time making a playoff game because there were only 3 classifications. And what I mean by 3 classifications, there was the Eastern Conference Class A, there was the Eastern Conference Class B, and the Eastern Conference Class C. And there were multiple divisions represented, North, South, Central, and there was a wild card in there. And it was a 76 school field. Okay.
Right.
It wasn't like District 2 where 4 teams are the 4 spots. Okay?
Right.
If you lost more than one game, you were fighting an uphill battle. You really had a hard time making the postseason.
Right. Absolutely.
Today it doesn't make or break you, but it does certainly give you an idea where you're headed. Now, the reason I bring that up is if you remember back to last year, Scranton Prep really laid one on Valley View, 33-0. It really wasn't as competitive a game as we had hoped. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, they might have been ranked 1 and 2 in the preseason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and I thought that outcome served as more of an indication of the talent that Scranton Prep had.
Yes.
And less of an indication of Valley View having a lack of talent. And I was proven correct because Valley View reeled off 11 straight wins after that. So, and then went on to win the District 2 Class 4A championship. So, no, the first week doesn't necessarily end your hopes and dreams. It certainly doesn't spoil what could be a successful season. But it does give coaches an idea and players of what you have to work on, even if you win the games. But you'd much rather be 1-0 after opening week than 0-1. That's for sure.
Without a doubt, Joby. That's a great point. It's you kind of see not where you stand, but obviously, it's been said many times, the biggest improvement is from week 1 to 2. At least I've heard that somewhere, Joby.
Yeah, Joe, I think that's true. Yeah. I do. I believe that philosophy. I really do. And just kind of giving you an idea of a couple of the other games, Joe. One that's may not be on anybody's radar screen just yet, but I think it's one that people will take particular interest in my neck of the woods. Lakeland is going to be visiting Carbondale area.
Yeah.
Okay. And last year in week 1, Lakeland got off to a pretty optimistic start. They were coming off a 1-9 season and expectations were a little bit lessened because they're still trying to fill in some gaps and fill in the lineup. But really, Lakeland overwhelmed Carbondale area in that week 1 game. I believe the final score was 40-18. And it's interesting, Lakeland did not have the kind of success the rest of the season it had hoped coming off of that win. Mm-hmm. Whereas Carbondale area did get to build some momentum. The middle of its schedule is always going to feed into the ability to do that. There's some games there where Carbondale area is going to win just based on the fact that it's a much stronger program than teams that are going to play in that middle part of the schedule. But that being said, Carbondale area went on to play the District 2 Class 3A playoffs. Now, both teams are entering this season with much higher expectations because they return good portions of their starting lineups from those 2 teams. And I really am interested to see which one of those 2 teams comes out of that week 1 game with a victory. And I want to see what it can turn into for both of those programs for the rest of the season, based upon the knowledge that they have been building toward this season, both programs. They've been on almost that same trajectory and using the same formula, building from within, starting a lot of underclassmen, gaining them experience, watching them get bigger and stronger, and now we'll see if the hard work pays off.
Absolutely, Joby. And just to give a rundown of what we're looking at, as you had mentioned, Scranton Prep will be at Valley View. That is the only LFC game, as you said, between opponents in the same division. The non-league games: Pocono Mountain West at Scranton, Nanticoke area at North Pocono, Riverside at Dunmore, West Scranton at Old Forge, Lakeland at Carbondale area, Susquehanna at Western Wayne, Mid-Valley at Pittston area, Tunkhannock at Lackawanna Trail, Abington Heights at East Stroudsburg South, Wallenpaupack at Stroudsburg, Honesdale at East Stroudsburg North, and Holy Cross will be at Montrose. So that is what we're looking at for week 1 of high school football. Joby, it's here.
Don't forget the Saturday game. Delaware Valley playing McKeesport. Now, that game's out in Pittsburgh, so I don't think there's going to be too much of a caravan out there from Milford, but that's going to be a pretty good one there, too. Again, Delaware Valley has a really daunting schedule here in the first 5 weeks. 4 road games, 4 games scheduled against teams that are ranked in the state of Pennsylvania for their respective classifications. So if Delaware Valley comes out of this first 5 games 3-2 or 2-3, I think that would be a success in Keith Olson's eyes. I mean, clearly he would like to be 5-0.
Sure.
But his team is really going to endure quite a stretch of games here which will take him to have the midway point of the season. So
absolutely.
Now, Joe, why don't you? I'm going to test myself. Okay,
sure.
You often do this to me, and you put me on this.
Yes.
So I'm going to see how well I do. Don't stop me if I'm wrong, but at the end, I want you to tell me how I'm going to fare. In my success rate. Okay.
Okay.
All right. This is just off the top of my head. Now I don't shuffle papers. I don't have any notes in front of me.
No.
All right. North Pocono's ranked number 1 in the preseason.
That's correct.
Right?
Oh, sorry. I'm not supposed to say. No, go ahead.
Don't stop me. Scranton Prep is number 2. Riverside is number 3. Lackawanna Trail 4. Those 2 teams battled for the Lackawanna Football Conference Division III championship last year. Abington Heights is 5. Delaware Valley is 6. Dunmore is 7. Mid-Valley 8. Valley View 9, which will play Scranton Prep number 2. And number 10 is Scranton. How'd I do, Joe?
How did you do? Yeah, one's right, 2's right. See, we didn't rehearse this, so I was looking for the top 10.
Joe,
as you were reading them off. But that is exactly right. Yeah, North Pocono 1, Ding, Scranton Prep 2, Riverside 3, Trail 4, Abington 5, CV 6, Dunmore 7, Mid-Valley 8, Valley View 9, Scranton 10. Joby, you nailed it.
I nailed it. Now, Joe, full disclosure on this. Mm-hmm. The reason I wanted to test myself on that is I put that preseason top 10 poll. We talked about this on the previous edition of the Film Room podcast in July.
Yes.
And by doing that, I had forgotten about it because Joe, I have so much that I have to do for that preseason football insert that I try to put some things that I can do quickly out of my hair for a little while.
Yeah.
And then I tend to forget about it.
Exactly.
And the next thing I know, I receive a text from your boss, Chris Imperiali, sports editor of the Media News Group Northeast Division. And he said, "Are you okay if we run the preseason top 10 in Sunday's paper?" Yeah. Sure. I had forgotten I did it. And I was as surprised as everybody else when I looked in the paper on to see where I ranked everybody. So, that, and at that point, once he asks me if he could run it, I'm not going to go back and check it. I know I wanted to, but I wasn't going to do that.
No.
So that's our preseason top 10. We'll see how we fare. We'll see how we do.
Absolutely.
We've done a pretty good job of landing the top couple of teams here. So we'll see. I think all of those teams are pretty seasoned, and they have some outstanding talent based. I was glad I got to do the tour around the camps. I got to see them up close and personal. I thought there's some really talented players out there. We'll see how all of them come together as teams as we move into believe it or not, Joe, the 2025 high school season.
How about that? Well, Joby, I'll give you credit because we'll see how you do. The preseason top, it's whether it's top 10 in high school football, the top 25 in college football, it's very hard to do considering these teams haven't hit the field yet. That's the point of it.
That's right, Joe. Speaking about your college football preseason poll, I don't know if you happen to see it. Penn State We Are is ranked number 2 by the Associated Press, trailing number 1 Texas by a mere 5 voting points.
Exactly.
Boy, Joe, if this isn't the year for Penn State, I don't know.
Oof, I know, right?
I don't know if Penn State will ever get a better chance to win the national championship than it's going to have now because that roster is loaded.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And, Joby, it's nice to see that my Michigan Wolverines were completely cleared of all wrongdoing.
Joe, let's not overstate the rule.
I suppose I shouldn't spread lies on this podcast.
Well, I don't care if you spread them, but Joe, here's the problem. I don't want you to revel in anything like that where clearly there was some nefarious conduct.
Sure, Joby.
Just listen, they're still the national champs.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
That banner's still going to be raised.
That's all I'm saying. We didn't lose any wins. We didn't lose the national title.
I'm not even so sure I understood the sanctions.
I don't really either. Joey, I got to be honest with you. I feel like every few months, like a new penalty came out on it, and I'm just like, okay. I was just like, wow, we're still like on this. I didn't.
Yeah, well, listen, we're in a different world now, Joe. Remember that.
Kidding.
But that being said, Penn State's got a great football team this year, and all the Penn State fans who I am very close to, friendship-wise, are really, really excited about this season. But they have that weird sense of doom that hangs over this program. So, 1986 was the last championship season, or 87?
That's right, yeah.
So we'll see. Or no, the Phantom one, the one where they really actually should have won when Kerry Collins was at 94, right? When Kerry Collins.
Right.
Carter.
That's right.
Had a share because they won the coaches poll and Washington won the AP poll. I forget or whatever.
Yeah. I think the last was it when they beat Miami? Was that the last legit one?
86 season, right? Yeah. That would be Fiesta Bowl in 87.
Yep.
A 14-10 thriller.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Vinny Testaverde had about 12 interceptions in that game.
He sure did.
So, but anyway, Joby, we have made it through. Obviously, we had our LFC Blackwater Football Conference preview podcast, which is getting some getting some traffic, Joby.
Verb.
Even though we had, I should say, I had some technical difficulties. This Podbean app was not working correctly as it had done the last 47 times, but a lot of credit to Podbean for fixing the issue and reimbursing me of my optimization hours. So we should be good to go moving forward here. It'll be a more quality episode as far as the editing this time around, or at least it should be.
Joe, I will have you know how successful your debut podcast was. I received, and I will send you an email very shortly, a couple of requests.
Really?
From people who would love to be special guests.
Wow.
On the Film Room podcast. So I'm going to give you some names. And Joe, we're going to get some things done this year. I can feel it.
I think so, Joby. So that's exciting. That's good stuff. That's what we want. So that's going to do it for episode 2 of season 2 of the Film Room podcast. Thank you to Ben Boyanoski of Scranton Prep Golf, the Times-Tribune's first Athlete of the Week of the 76th year of the Athlete of the Week program. Thank you, Ben, for joining us. Follow us, times-tribune.com/sports. Follow Joby's Facebook page, Joby Fawcett, the Times-Tribune, that is his Times-Tribune page. Times-Tribune Sports on Facebook and Instagram, and at SportsTT on X. It's gonna be a fun week with the opening of football season. So be sure to go to the website. I know Joby and I will have some video for you from the opening games that we're covering, and we'll go from there, Joby.
All right, my friend. I look forward to chatting with you again next week.
Definitely, my friend. Thank you, Joby.